Hello and welcome to 2026 Bonsai Lovers. Scott Martin from Bonsai Matsu, and this is the Bonsai Stuff podcast. Back for season 8, the 8th year this podcast will be running, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a big year planned this year. It's going to be a great year, although I'll start on a bit of a sad note. On my workshop will be a little bit different from now going forward, having said goodbye to my workshop buddy Jesse after 14 years. Very sad time, but these things always happen, and I thoroughly believe part of being a responsible animal lover and pet owner that you have to make the right decision at times. But anyway, this year's going to be such a fantastic year for bonsai, and it's already off to a positive start. I've got so much on the go, so much planned, and this podcast I am grateful for it to be coming back again, and I'm super proud and appreciative of all the support that you guys and gals give me throughout the bonsai world. I got a review of how many places around the world the podcast was listened to, and it was crazy. It's basically from edge to edge, north and south, east and west. So thank you very much. So let's get into episode 1, season 8 of the Bonsai Stuff podcast. So my bonsai year this year looks like I'll be travelling right around Australia again, which is fantastic. Catching up with some old friends, making lots of new friends along the way, but just spreading the bonsai love as far and as wide as I possibly can. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if I am coming to your local club, then please reach out and say hello, because I'd love to connect with more bonsai people. As I said, it's going to be a really positive year this year, and I want to start with a few things. I'm going to talk about my goals for 2026 and where I'd like to see things happen for me, because I find it's really important this time of the year with planning to make sure that I've got a really clear focus. And I've spent had a good couple of weeks off, putting my feet up, having a few cold ales and catching some waves, and just really thinking about lots of what I want to do and where I want to get to. And if you don't know me, I like to plan. I like to see where things are going to go, but not necessarily control every facet, but just to have my head around things, so things just don't randomly happen. It's like it's calculated, and that's just me with how I do things, and bonsai for me is no different. And when I look back, as I said in the last episode of the podcast, when I look back at 2025, I was really happy with my trees and where things got to. Yeah, there's a few little things here and there, but all in all, I'm pretty happy. And bonsai is the very core of bonsai for me is repeating good practices and procedures over and over and over again. Not just doing something good now and then changing somewhere down the track. It's like soil mix for me. You've got to, once you commit to something, you commit to it longer term. It's so hard with this chopping and changing, and that's the latest and greatest, I'm going to do that. Now this is better, I'm going to do that. It's like, how do you know what the outcome's going to be? How do you know the predictability of when you feed, what it's going to be, or watering or root growth or anything like that? And you learn lessons often the hard way with things taking backward steps and changes. So that consistency and repeatability of all of the things that I do for myself and for my trees is something that I want to continue with. So rather than reinventing the wheel just because the calendar ticked over to the 1st of January this year, I went, well, you know what, I'm actually really happy with where I was at last year. So why do I need to go and change things? If there was a reason, if there's minor things that I can change, then definitely. But my focus should be continued. And 1 year in the life of my trees is nothing. So that me providing that another year of that consistent approach, making sure that I'm doing the 1%ers, the little things, weeding. I go on and on about weeding, but it drives me crazy. I reckon everybody listening to this podcast will go, yeah, they're always there. But they are. and they're resource stealers. They're taking away from our trees, so you can easily turn your back and walk away. And I do it, hand up. I do it at times too. I think I'll come back to that, but it's one of those things that the more you're on top of it, the easier it is, and the more impact your trees get from all your hard work, your watering efforts. Like we've got extreme weather. I shake my head. It happens every year, and it's always bad. The extremity of it, I believe, is getting worse, from my opinion. But we've got bushfires in Victoria, which are absolutely devastating. Extreme heats. I'm in Melbourne. I'm down south, so generally the weather's cooler, but we get spikes in temperature where it sort of jumps up to mid 40 degrees Celsius, and then 2 days later it's back to low 20 degrees, and that has an impact. And the stronger, it just reminds me that the stronger I can make my bonsai, the better they're going to handle those scenarios. And I walk around, I look at my delicate species like my Japanese maples that at this time of the year, the ones in the garden, they've got crispy leaves, which no matter, that's just the way they are. Their root structure, they just don't get enough water to stop that frying during those extreme heats. But the ones that I've got in the pots that I've worked on root systems for a very, very long period of time, I don't have burnt leaves. There might be the odd crispy one here and there, but generally I'm pretty happy with how the trees have handled that heat. And if you're in a region where you're continually copying that extreme heat, and certain areas just can't grow certain varieties. It's just the way it is. Some trees, natives local to your areas, as I've said time and time again, they'll thrive and they'll do really well in that sort of an environment. So that should be your focus. Don't introduce a tree, a variety that is really going to get flogged and struggle when we do get to these extremes of our weather events. And summer is really, really hard. It's I'm going to come back and do a bit of a midsummer review later on, but linking that to where I want my goals to be, I really want to focus on the positives of what I've done and keep repeating and doing things over and over again with the same passion and drive that I've had for the last however many years I've been doing them, because the results are great. The results are really good. So I'm going to continue doing that sort of thing. The other thing that I've written down on my little podcast notebook here, and I was sitting back, and I remember when this one came to me, I'd read some stuff in the online world of bonsai, and there's always comments, always. There's always comments anywhere you go online. Some are positive, some are neutral, some are negative. But anyway, I just said to myself, I'm just going to do what makes me and others in bonsai happy. Really simple. Just try and put a smile on people's faces. Always look at it as a cup half full scenario. Try and make the bonsai world slightly better for anybody that reaches out to me. And that's honestly what I'm going to say. I see some kickings that get put through, especially on those beginners pages and stuff like that, and think, why would you even bother typing that? Why would you waste your effort saying something like that to somebody who you clearly know it's going to inflict pain and hurt on somebody? I don't get it. So my approach is always going to be, and I encourage anybody that listens to this podcast to be positive. Or if you can't, then just don't say anything. Just shut up. You don't need to be part of it. And another thing I wrote down was, I'm going to continue to break down the mystery of bonsai care and development. Sometimes it can get made overly complex, and yeah, sure, it's lovely to get into the nitty gritty and break things down to the nth degree, and start making it a real science. But I don't think it needs to be, and I think that 99.99% of the people that are involved in it really appreciate just a simple, direct, easy to follow, basic instruction. If you do this, this is generally a result you're going to do. And once you get to that point, sure, we can sharpen the arrow. We can get closer and closer to the fine tuning of exactly what you need. But you don't need that immediately. You know, you need to sort of start on a path and go, well, you know, bugger me, things have gone pear-shaped. How do I stop the tide? How do I turn things around? How do I get back on track? Yep, that's me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help and try and make it a little less mysterious, a little less of an art form, and just make it basic horticultural. It works. You know, I was going to say design, but it's not. It's just basic horticultural facts of, okay, if you can sort of start with this little block and then go to that block and then go to this block, well, then there's a path for everybody. And, you know, no matter what point you're at, I think that things can improve, things can keep getting better and more refined. But as I said, with my goals for this year, for 2026, I don't want to have to go through and reinvent the wheel just for the sake of reinventing the wheel. There's got to be a really good reason for me to look at changing anything or doing anything different. If I've had issues and I can see that things aren't working, well then, okay, break it back. What's the reason? What's happened? What have you done? What haven't you done? What do you need to change for it? And then implement those changes, definitely, by all means. But if you're happy with the trees and the results are great, then don't go doing a complete 180 because you read something online or, you know, someone said something to you. Always take on others' advice and try and fine-tune and steal the best bits. Take the best bits of the information that you're given and try and incorporate into that what you do and just build it up brick by brick to make it something that's fantastic. But I think that you know, this positive start to the year for me. I've got a spring in my step. I love holidays. I love taking my foot off the gas for a little bit, but geez, I love feeling refreshed when I come back into it, just so I can jump into it and try and get things rolling again. I have a lot of trees. It's an understatement. There's a lot of trees around the yard, all different stages. A lot of big trees, a lot of, you know, medium, small. There's just lots of trees everywhere that I look. And sometimes I know what it's like. You can walk around your collection and just get overwhelmed by the work that's got to be done. You know, you can get them all looking great, but that's the beauty of bonsai is they never sit still for very long. You might get, you know, a few weeks where you look at them and go, that's fantastic. Then something happens, a different variety, you know, shoots off and says, well, this is perfect for me. Here I go. I'm going to start growing. You know, things like repotting season come around fast. Anyway, so part of my 2026 plan or my focus is for making sure that bonsai is never a chore and that it's always enjoyable. Make it that I don't look at things and go, I've got to go and do whatever it is. I don't want to be dragged down or feel like there's something, I can't do that because I have to do this. Because then what happens is you'll actually start regretting your trees. You'll start not wanting to have bonsai. You'll start forgetting why you got into bonsai in the first place. And that's the spark, I think, that for me, it's that reminder of what did you get into bonsai for? What made you fall in love with it? What made you think about bonsai 24/7? What makes you go for a walk around the block and look at trees and go, if I cut this, if I did this, if I did that? Or, you know, spend every second you've got on your device looking at, you know, pictures on social media of different trees from all around the world and think about all these wild plants and I'd love that variety. That's a perfect tree for me. I could get one of those and I could grow that and I could do this and look at the outcome. Anyway, I just want bonsai to be enjoyable. So, you know, one of the things that that I talk about, and I know I've joked about this and talked about this a lot before, but just watch the number of trees you've got in your collection. Don't become overwhelmed. Don't let those eyes light up every time you walk into a bonsai nursery or you look at Marketplace and you see something for sale. Don't jump on it. Just have a good hard think about the amount of work that's going to be involved, the amount of work that you've got currently, you know, and have that 1 in, 1 out policy. You know, some people I know are doing 1 in, 2 out. So the collection is evolving, it's changing, but you're not becoming overwhelmed by the sheer volume of trees that you've got out there. And this podcast is me being completely honest and open, and I definitely have got to that point where I've walked around the yard and I've looked at so many different varieties of so many different of the same variety, like my black pines. When it gets to something like wiring and styling those in autumn winter, I think, how am I going to get this done? Like, how am I physically going to have the time to get this number of trees done in that period that I've got to get them knocked off? And some years I've sat down and I've got a calculator out and a pen and paper and gone, okay, well, there's 3 extra large, there's 20 large, there's 40 medium, whatever it is, and just gone, okay, well, that's going to take me approximately 1 hour. That's going to be 3 hours. That's half a day. That's a day and a half. And then I've got to break it down and say, okay, well, I've got to allocate time for these trees. Now, my collection management has got me to the point where I feel like I'm at the point now where, I've got a really nice balance in the trees and the work that needs doing on them. As they get to a more mature position, that restyling work starts to lessen. There's a lot more fine tuning, like detailed wiring and stuff like that. But you're not, as I said before, you're not reinventing the wheel every time I put a tree onto my workbench. Lots of pruning, lots of plucking, lots of branch selection, all that sort of stuff. But I've got it to a point where I can manage it. So what I'd encourage you to do is to make sure that based on the time that you've got and how quickly you can work through your trees, you do get quicker as you work more and more on the trees. And some people can fly through them, other people have to do them very slowly and methodically and work their way through. And if you're in that basket where you're very slow with your trees and you are, don't go and get 5,000 trees in a collection. Stick with the 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is that you've got. If you're quick and you're fast, then, maybe a couple hundred trees is nothing for you to have in your collection. But be very mindful that what starts as a seed with nothing to do ends up as a tree with 8,000 branches that needs a hell of a lot of time on it somewhere in the future. Maybe it's a long way in the future, but that's what happens. So be careful not to overwhelm yourself with the work that needs to be done. And like I said, that word chore, that regret, that hesitation you get when it's, or that shiver up your spine when you're laying down in bed at night and think, oh, I've got to get that done. Don't make that bonsai. Make that the rest of your life. Make that all the stuff around the periphery of what bonsai is. But bonsai's for you. Bonsai's your place. Bonsai's where you get to relax and enjoy and immerse and the mindfulness and all the other crap that goes with it. It allows you to become a better person, and that connection with the tree shouldn't be one of haste or of rushing. It should be one where you get to sit there and go, this is brilliant. I love this. I love this time. I love it when for me, put on some music and just sit down and have the workshop doors open, have the breeze blowing through the place, just sit there for hours on end and work on a tree. And you'd think that someone that it's a bonsai professional, you're obviously listening going, oh, you're so lucky you're a bonsai professional, you get to do this all day. Well, I can guarantee you that a lot of being a bonsai professional isn't there sitting working on trees like you do in your own private collection. A lot of it's doing a hell of a lot of other stuff that takes you away from your trees. So when I first started this path of going down this bonsai professional role, that was my thought was, oh, how lucky you get to just work with trees all day. But I can guarantee you that's definitely the case. And there's one day out of every 7 that goes towards this podcast, at least, plus all the other stuff that goes in there and all the other usual rubbish that goes with running businesses and and whatever else. It's just not like that. So I'm very mindful that I probably got to the point where I was overloaded. And then I've had to scale things back, and my calendar now, when I look at it, normally from around about October every year through until the end of December. So there's probably 3 months solid, where the following year for me gets booked up. And during that time, it's like, okay, well, I remember sitting back going, 2026, it's going to be a year where I can do this, this, and this. And I'm really positive that I want to do these courses and do these workshops and do this and do that. And then all of a sudden, phone rings or an email pings through or a message. And, next thing you know, you're traveling to Cairns, and then you're into Wagga Wagga, and then you're into, Canberra, and then you're into Brisbane, and then you've got this, and then you've got Adelaide, and you've got all this stuff that happens. And I'm smiling from ear to ear because I seriously love it. And to have that sort of on my radar, it's brilliant. But it's also time away from my trees. And if you're in a position where you are traveling, or you are having a life, bonsai should never be something that you regret or that you rush. It should be something that you really start to enjoy. So for me, it's always making sure that it's not a chore, that it's enjoyable, and that my life doesn't, it sounds weird, but doesn't revolve around my bonsai, but my bonsai are a really positive component of my life. And I love it. I have trees that I work on that never get shown, never get photos taken, that never will, but they're just special to me. And it's stuff that I get to work on and plan on, and I want to make sure that for me that focus is always there. Remember why you started bonsai, why you loved it, why you had that spring in your step, and bring that back into 2026, bring that back into this year, bring it back into everything that you do with your trees. And if something's happened to take that flair away from you, then look at changing something. Look at saying, okay, well, I need to stop doing that because I enjoy this more. I really want to make this part of my world. And one big thing for me that I do to make sure that I do enjoy my trees is, rather than looking at every single tree I've got in my collection going, that needs work, that needs work, that needs work, that needs work, I just look at it and go, okay, what's my priority for right now? What do I need to focus on to ensure that my trees keep taking that step forward? And so for me, right at this time of the year, it's my junipers. And next episode of the podcast is focused on a certain section of my junipers that I want to talk about, that I've been focusing on. And so for me, that's how I can look at all my trees and go, yeah, they're starting to get a bit shaggy, but is it vital? Do I need to do that work right now? And it's like, no, I don't. I don't need to do that. Just put that aside. Just enjoy the trees, water them, make sure they're happy, make sure they're okay. Watch the weather, but make sure that they're okay. But my focus at the moment needs to be on my junipers, and then I can break it down into small little modular blocks and go, okay, well, you've got X amount of junipers in the collection. Which one's a priority? Which one's going to need the most work? Let's get that one done first. All right, so this batch here, what work needs to be done on them? All right, so that's just a bit of refinement work. All right, cool. So lock it in. They can get done in whatever time. And for me, that's how I can build these simple little building blocks to allow me to work my way through my collection without being inundated and without seeing millions. Because you get to the point where sometimes you're overwhelmed when you just go, well, I'm not sure what to do. Like, they all need it. That needs it. That needs it. That needs it. That needs it. It's like, for me, it's like, okay, just pick one. Just put it on the bench. Shut the door to the workshop if need be. Put the curtain down. Re-hone your focus just on one tree. All right, enjoy it. It's not a chore. This is why you do what you do. This is what you love. And then, make it that the atmosphere, the environment that you're working in is truly enjoyable. I never try and do it in between things. Never say, okay, I've got 15 minutes. I'm going to quickly do that. No. Go and do something else. Go and mow the lawns or weed your trees. Do whatever, but make it that you can sit down and go, right, I've got some time. I'm going to really, really sit down and enjoy this. And I think that for me, working like that and making it that my nearest and dearest, don't feel that, my time is taken away from them because I'm working on the trees, because then those around you that influence your life, they can start to regret your trees as well and go, those bloody bonsai, those bloody trees, he's always doing them, he's always out there. It's like, okay, I want them to see what I get out of it. So if I've got to be a dad, be a husband, be a partner, be whatever, then that's cool. Let's make sure that's life, and then go, okay, well, I've got some time, and I want them to look at it and go, geez, he loves those trees, and he comes back a happier person, and look at what he's done. I love when those close to me can share in what I do and enjoy it as partially as much as what I do, but never make it a chore. Summer in Australia, my God, you see it every year. I've been on this planet for a couple of years now, and you see it roll in, you see it do its worst, and I look forward to summer. I love it. I love time at the beach. I love being in the ocean. It cleanses my soul, makes me a better human being, to be honest. But when I see that the weather that kicks in all across the country, like I can't tell you how much time I spend every day on weather apps and looking at the weather and forecasts and all that sort of stuff, and trying to plan and predict and work out where things are at, and get told one thing and then 3 days later it's completely something different. Go from the extremes of sweltering, where you can barely take a breath because it's hot as an oven, to the next day it's cool and it's raining. I mean, that's Victoria. That's Melbourne anyway. Maybe not all of Victoria, but then you see the weather where we have these bushfires, and up north gets flooded, and there's just devastation left, right, and centre. And I heard one of our major fires started in Victoria from the back of a trailer scraping on the ground, and the sparks. The conditions were just so perfect for a fire that sparks on the road caught the grass to catch on fire, and next thing you know, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres burnt out in a very short period of time, and it's just devastating, the damage that it can do. And from our bonsai point of view, it always makes me nervous. I talk about watering systems, I talk about whatever plans you've got, make sure they're in place and make sure you're practiced and ready, and I've done it myself for a long period of time. I can report back that there was minimal damage after a period away through the extreme heat. Definitely was damage. Definitely a few things here and there got flogged in those extreme days. But all in all, it's pretty good. But that midsummer, for me, like always by the time we get to around about now, this mid-January point of view, I always walk around the trees and think, I can see it. They're starting to get tired now. And it's not just trees in pots. Some of my trees I've got in my backyard, I've got a big row of these ornamental pears that have been there for a long time. They're big, mature trees, and I look at those, and one out of 10 trees has just been flogged. Like, it's just got to the point where it's been hammered by the weather. These things do happen. We get tested throughout this period. We get to winter, we start talking about overwatering, but the extreme heat, that heat that comes through with summer, always kicks me in the guts. I always see it and think, oh my God, how do we get through this? And we've had years down in Melbourne where we've had mild summers. I mean, as a kid, you get these week-long periods of in excess of 40, and then we get lulled into a bit of a false sense of security where you go, oh, it's only got to the high 30s this year, and the trees have been okay. And then all of a sudden this year, we only get a couple of days in those 40 brackets, but it goes from very mild to an extreme heat, and then mild again, and then back to extreme heat, and then everything just tends to fall apart. And no matter how much work you've done and what you've planned and all the process you've been through, you can still cop it. And that's, I suppose, what I'm trying to say is that's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you can't stop these things. We do our damnedest to try and do it, but all I can say is, from my experience, I look at it and I think, okay, what would I do differently next year? because it's going to happen. no matter which way you look at it. And if it's not next summer, it's the one after, and we're still only halfway through summer now. There's still another half of this to go before we start to see any kind of change in patterns as we head towards the autumn period. So it's not too late to make changes, to adapt watering systems, to change positioning of trees, to look at shade cloth structure, to do whatever it is that needs to be done. Don't be hard on yourself. It happens to all of us. We certainly do our damnedest to make sure things are okay. And I can't tell you how many times I've watered during the day on those extreme days, and things still happen with it. But we do our best. We're only halfway through it. I do, like I said, I do enjoy the warm weather. I do love wearing shorts around the place, but I know that those extreme conditions can be. I don't know if catastrophic the right word for us with bonsai, but they can have an impact, a serious impact on our trees. So just make sure that you're at the point where you don't get you don't get complacent with it. It's still got a way to go, and if you're in places like over in the west, over in that beautiful part of the world, over in Perth, that area, then you're certainly well and truly used to these extreme temperatures. You've only had them for feels like 6 months now, where you've been above 30 almost every single day of the week. So, places like Melbourne, we get flogged on the odd occasion, and it's extreme and has a massive impact. Your collections where you do those consistent warm temperatures, maybe a lot more acclimatized to that than what we are here. But anyway, I feel for everyone around the country at the moment. The news just seems to be constantly affected by the extremes that were happening. So I wish everybody in Bonsai all the best. Anyway, that's the end of episode 1 for season 8 of the Bonsai Stuff podcast. Lots more to come. It's the weekly bonsai podcast that you can rely on being there on Monday mornings. Listen to it whenever you like, but I'll be releasing this podcast, and I'll be filling you in with all the bonsai tales and tidbits and things that I'm doing around the yard and reminders and all that sort of stuff that I've been doing for a long period of time now. So thank you for the listening. Thank you for the patronage. Thank you for the support. It means a hell of a lot. And let's make sure that 2026 is a fantastic bonsai year, not just for us as individuals, but for the bonsai community, the bonsai world. As bonsai gets stronger around the world, it's better for all of us. We want more bonsai nurseries. We want more involvement. We want more bonsai podcasts. We want more bonsai on social media. We want more bonsai on YouTube. We want bonsai everywhere we turn. We want bonsai to be part of the general population's everyday experience, and to see it on movies and on TV. And what's good for bonsai is good for all of us. So let's make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that happens. And until next time, as always, happy bonsai.